3 steps to conquering procrastination. In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can learn to move out, get out of your own way. Procrastination is something that I think affects every single person on this planet, and in this video I definitely want to inspire you to look at it differently, because what we know as human beings is we don't really change when we're told what to do. We change when our perspective changes. So if you are the sort of person that starts things with good intentions, or you find that you really have too many distractions and your impulses kind of get the better of you, then this video is for you. So let's get stuck in. Let's start off by actually looking at what procrastination is. Well, it actually comes from a Latin word which means to put forwards. Now, I want you to take a moment and think to yourself, how many times in your life have you perhaps said something like, oh, you know what, it'll only take a minute. You had the intention to do something, but you just said, well, I'll just do this because it'll only take a minute, and that minute ended up being 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then half an hour, then an hour, and then maybe you actually even forgot what it is that you were doing in the first place. To do that, I think, is to be human. Look, the man who won the Nobel Prize in 1972 said the biggest problem in the world is there's too much information. Now, how old were you in 1972? I was 2. And where we got information from was newspapers, television, encyclopedias, but there was no internet. There was only 3 TV stations at that time. Right now, there's millions of things that you could go and look at, and so many things that are competing to get your attention. So to put things off is really to be human, especially if there's no necessity to do that. And as we get into these 3 steps, I definitely want to just help you look at this differently, because it's essential to actually stop. If we want to change anything, the first step is just stop. Let's step back and let's look at what we're doing with a fresh pair of eyes. So why do people procrastinate? Well, there's a few reasons. I think one of the biggest is overwhelm, is stress. I mean, right now, how do you feel? Are there days, are there moments where you feel like overwhelmed, there's too much to do, and then you feel that there's something else that you have to do, and then you associate some form of difficulty or anxiety or work or effort that is a part of your brain that goes, look, that's the last thing I want to do. I'm already overwhelmed enough as it is, so can we just do something that is mind-numbing or a bit distracting, because I don't want more effort. And I think that is a really important element to look at. I also think it's important to look at how many times in your life have you procrastinated? If we were giving out awards for people who are really good at it, should you deserve some form of trophy or medal for having been really good at this? And again, that might seem a bit strange, but I think it's important, first off, to acknowledge exactly where you are, and to acknowledge maybe how much of your time you spend being distracted, making excuses, giving into temptations, putting things off. Because who would you be if you could minimize that time? Because basically what happened, and this is the first step without doubt, is just to become aware. So become like a detective for the next few days or weeks or months, or maybe for the rest of your life, someone who's really curious as to what is actually going on here, and understand what are your intentions. So we've made so many videos on this YouTube channel about future self and intending to become that person, and then building the habits and the routines of success. And all of them we talk about, look, let's just become more aware. First off, you've got to know that procrastinating is a habit, right? You weren't born procrastinating. It's something you have learned to do, and in many cases you're very good at it. So the first step is look throughout your day and see how many times are there where you're looking to do something and you think, you know what, I'll just do that later, or I don't feel like it. Because that has to be one of the biggest reasons why people do it. So in this first phase, the first step, what you're really doing is becoming acutely aware, becoming more curious. What are the things you're putting off, and why are you putting them off? Is it because you're already stressed? Is it because you associate effort to doing it? Look, one of the things a lot of people put off is exercising. Why? Well, think about it. Cavemen never would have gone for a run for no reason. They only did it because they had to survive or to eat. They had to do it. They wouldn't have gone, hey, let's just go for a 10-mile run today. No, of course not, because there was no necessity to do that. And unless human beings have some form of necessity, and most of our necessities to act is the fact that there's too much to do, it's too painful, there's a diagnosis, a prognosis. It pushes people to behave in a way that they wouldn't normally do that. And I want you just to become aware, because ultimately what we look to help people do with the content that we put out into the world is, yes, empower them and give them different perspectives, but to really understand, the first step is awareness, and then to know, well, most people are being pushed by discomfort and pain. So if you feel discomfort, you want to move away from that pain, and that's why people get distracted and endlessly scrolling, or food or alcohol, whatever it is, to distract them away from how they're feeling. What we encourage you to do is to be pulled towards something you want to create, something long-term, something that is beyond a day, a week, and a month, something that excites you. And we've got loads of videos on that you can check. But the first step is, look, just become aware. Become aware that this is a habit. Become aware that if you don't act fast, you go down that road of procrastinating, and before you know it, it's hard to bring yourself back. And this is why step number 2 is 5 of the most powerful numbers in the world. You know what they are? Well, I'll tell you. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, there's a lady called Mel Robbins who's actually written a book called The 5-Second Rule, which is all about acting in 5 seconds. So if you want to do an experiment, please do, and let me know how you get on. Comment below. This is the test I'm giving you tomorrow morning, whether you wake up before your alarm or your alarm wakes you up. Rather than pressing snooze and going back to bed, literally 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say it out loud if you want, or in your head, and then get up. Because we have these windows to act. And if we don't act in 5 seconds, this is where hesitation, this is where self-doubt live. When I grew up, there was a TV program called Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are go. And it would start off with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go. And it's like you saw these rockets starting to take off. And I don't know whether you know this, but so much of the energy that is used to get a rocket off the ground is what happens right in the beginning. The hardest thing for us to do in most cases is just get started. So what we see is that when we think about something that we feel we should do, pain receptors light up in our brain, that then we feel that in our body, and then we just don't feel like it. And if we don't feel like it, most people think, well, I don't need to do it if I don't feel like it. Unless we learn to think greater than we feel, we'll always be a victim of, I just don't feel like it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 engages a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which creates that action. So I dare you, in the first step, become more aware, see where you procrastinate, and then in the second step, see just how quickly you can minimize the time it takes to think about doing something and then to do it. And this is why scheduling, which might seem really boring to a lot of people, but making the time to do the things that are difficult and challenging. Because ultimately you must be watching this video because you've got goals and dreams and ambitions, which is what I would say it is to be human. We've all got goals, dreams, and ambitions, but most of us lose sight of perhaps bigger goals for lesser goals. The lesser goal of, if I do this, I get that. This immediate return on, I want something now. And I think the greatest rewards that I have seen from all the people I've worked with, they're delayed. And most of us have an idea of who we think we are. This is me, I procrastinate. If I said, hey, put your hand up if you procrastinate, put your hand up. Well, guess what? You're not alone. How many other people do you think are watching this and put up their hand? And if they could see you put up their hands, they go, oh, I'm not the only one. Now, we could start Procrastinators Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, which is one of the most successful behavioral change models in the world. It all starts off with the truth. And I don't know what your truth is, but perhaps part of your truth is you've been procrastinating, you're distracting. And I think that what happens for a lot of us that do it, we know deep down we are continuing to tell ourselves a very similar story, that we've been telling ourselves for many, many years. And what we want to do is help you create a new story. And that's why step number 3 is that's like me. To have an identity of the person that you want to become. Again, please look at some of the other videos that we have around future self. So you start to identify with the person that you could become. To build a relationship to that person rather than building a future you don't want, because every time you procrastinate, you're voting for a person you probably don't want to be. And it's recognizing that it's the little things that you do every single day that can make a massive change to your life. Does your life matter? What's the greatest thing you will ever achieve? Or perhaps one of the greatest things you'll ever achieve is doing many of the things that you don't feel like doing. So every single time that you do something that perhaps in the past you wouldn't have done, celebrate. Say it. Say it with me right now, out loud. That's like me. Go on, say it again. That's like me. Now you can say, but that's not me. No, but we want to create a new story. So if you're the sort of person you snooze and you wake up because your bladder's hurting and you need to go to the toilet, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're creating a new story if you get out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you start exercising. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you start listening, you start paying attention. It could be so many things you could apply it to your life. And what we're talking about is only about the things you could start doing, because you could also use this technique and this strategy for the things that you want to stop doing. But let's start off with the starts, which kind of ironically is starting with you stopping, just stopping now, watching this video, because most people will procrastinate while they're watching this and they'll stop and go and watch something else. But you've made it to this point, so surely that says something about you, who you are. And if you're ready to take it to the next level, let's create a clean slate. So first step, what is it? Just become aware, become more curious, start to see all the places that you put things off and see that time period. And maybe write some of these things down, or not maybe, write them down. Put them on your phone and see all the different times in the day where you say, you know, it'll take a minute. No. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that little window, stop hesitation and self-doubt taking over and take control of your life. And every time you do that, you're creating a new story, and you should be saying to yourself, no, not you should be, I am creating a new story. That's like me. Why not say it out loud and wait for people to say, what are you doing? And maybe people will start following you. But the last point I want to make here is forgiveness. Studies have shown that when people forgive themselves for all the times in the past when they have put things off, it's a clean slate. Let go of the fact that you might not be where you want to be. Let go of the times that you've maybe in the past have started something and not finished it. Let go of the times you've made excuses, you've ruminated, you've procrastinated. Let's go from procrastination to procrastination. Let's get in the game. An object in motion stays in motion. What I'd like you to do right here, right now, is to watch the video that I did about the motivation equation. Now, this was designed by a guy called Piers Steele, who has won the equivalent of the Nobel Prize in psychology. You could call it the procrastination equation. In this video, I'm going to break down the specifics of what you need to do to turn down your impulsivity and to turn down the delay that we often put into our life and turn up the expectation and the value of what we can do. Because what we can do, we really should do, because that's where we can completely transform our lives. Watch that video now, and please remember, a great life, it doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. See you soon. Watch that video right now.